So everyone, welcome to the first SCOMAthon 2024 panel discussion. Today, we will be discussing a very interesting topic together with Bob, Bruce, and I think Raul should join us also on the stage for the discussion. And I have prepared, I hope, for you a very interesting topic after consulting a lot of people on SCOM and SCOM MI. I found out that for many, the difference between both is not that clear, and that's what we are going to discuss today. So before starting with our questions, I'll give the chance for just very short, let's say, for the speakers to present themselves, because everyone knows Pope, but for example, Raul, I think if he if he could say just a couple of words about himself. For me, I'm Stoyan. I'm a Microsoft MVP for Cloud and Data Center. I do lots of monitoring. Previous years also sessions on SCOMathon, and today I'm going to be your panel discussion moderator.
It's great to have you with us. So, you know me, I'm Bruce Cullen. I've been around SCOMathon for a very long time, and SCOM as well. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and I'm SCOM Bob. So that's that's also clear. I was just presenting a session. And if Raul can hear us, can you please walk up to the stage? Or can somebody have a look in the room next to us to see if he's hiding there?
I'll get the team on it. If not, of course, anyone out there that wants to contribute, come sit on the white seats or come join us on stage. And you're
cool.
welcome.
Or maybe I can say just Raul is a monitoring architect and IT expert with, let's say, more than 15 years of experience in the monitoring topics. And we'll be really happy if he's able to contribute to this discussion today. But while we wait for him, I think let's start with the first topic of discussion. And when we talk about SCOM and SCOM MI, I know Bob, so this going to be a question for you. What is the primary difference between in features and in the user interface between the traditional SCOM instance and an instance of or SCOM managed instance?
Well, it's good that you ask, because I see SCOM mostly as three things. It's an infrastructure backend, right? So management servers, etc., databases. There are agents there. We have the monitoring management packs, and we have viewing stuff, right? Dashboarding, reporting, whatever is there. So management packs will stay the same. Viewing will be changed. So that is the main thing which changes as well, because reporting is gone in SCOM MI, which means that we need to view things in another way. We can, of course, use SquareUp for this. This is one of the things which remains the same. So SquareUp can be used in both cases, but also Grafana and later on KQL, because that is the other thing which is coming around. I think that's another question for later, for the future stuff. So looking at the backend, that is what changes, right? So the management servers and SQL parts, those change, and all of the rest stay the same for now. So that is the main change, the viewing part of it, I would say.
So more or less, what you're trying to say is that there are not such big differences when both are compared?
Well, there are some things which are missing, right? Because of the way that we want to move into the cloud with SCOM, which means that we have to have less dependency on the management servers, so to say. So a management service can host other features of SCOM, like ACS, like AEM, which are no longer supported. They would still work technically now, but it's not supported to run it, because Microsoft will redeploy a server and then it's gone again, right? So all of those kind of features are not there anymore or different. And of course, anything related to network monitoring and Linux monitoring will be moved off into the gateways, instead of the management servers, because we want to get rid of the management server dependency story. Otherwise, we cannot move towards a PaaS and SaaS solution, which is what SCOM MI is meant to be working towards.
Right. I see Raul is already on stage. Hi, Raul. Can you hear us?
Hi, Strowan. Hi, Bob. Yes.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
nice. Yes, quite well. Raul, my next question goes to you. Are there any specific features or functionalities which are currently present in SCOM managed instance that you find particularly, let's say, advantages compared to traditional SCOM?
On the advantages, we don't have to manage the management server. That's the best part in there. Because sometimes it can go hairy and you need to troubleshoot it from up to down. And still you have to go and ask Teams, Microsoft. And if you are lucky, you get a good escalation engineer. Otherwise, you will be going round and round in circle. That's the experience.
Right. So the infrastructure in SCOM managed instance is managed by Microsoft. Any other major factors or let's say functionalities worth mentioning? I think Bob already touched reporting. But Bruce,
the integration of Azure Monitor in this, like in SCOM, you have to be reliant on the management pack. But in there, you have better dashboarding, better logging. You can add Azure Analytics as well. You can do some customization with some other APM tools as well in those sections. So that's the part, but it is very costly, like to do things if you are in different geographical locations and that way as well.
But we still have the advantages of the management pack concept. So we are still able to use our management packs, which our organizations or we have, let's say, developed for years or maintained for years, which I personally find like a great plus to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. The other thing I would say on this is that SCOM MI is more, it's not SaaS, but it's more SaaS-like, meaning that it is one thing today, but it may not be that same thing tomorrow. So while we're talking about a set of features today, if you're looking at this recording in a year's time, hopefully we'll be talking about a different set of features and differences in capabilities. So for me, one of the things that's quite important about an MI isn't what it can do today, it's what it might be able to do in the future, things that are being planned and added, which is why the SCOM product group session is always interesting, to hear what they're working on and what they're planning. Because like you say, one of the things that Azure Monitor has not got and probably will never get is all of the richness that are management packs, right?
Right.
Oh,
right.
Actually, it does have now, because SCOM MI is part of Azure Monitor. It's now a capability of Azure Monitor, which means that it's now just a part of it. And you can pick and choose and say, well, for these servers, I want to use SCOM MI, I will put an agent on them, etc. And I think these are also two of the things which are changing in the future and are currently already started, which is the Azure Monitor integration. So basically moving data across into log analytics, so you can query them using KQL, meaning Azure Monitor workbooks, meaning Grafana can also talk to it, meaning Squared Up can also talk to it using the KQL queries. So there are many possibilities there. And the other one, which I think is advantageous, is how to deploy the agents and manage the agents. Because Microsoft is now working on the previews for deploying the agent using the ARC method, right? So if your machine is in ARC, then you can deploy an agent to it, meaning it will also help with the authentication story, which used to be either Kerberos or certificate, and now we have our ARC story coming. And that is something which is not in the on-prem.
Right. I see a couple of guys who are attending the discussion, and I just wanted to ask before going further, guys, do you have any questions which you would like to ask either Raul, Bob, or also Bruce or me eventually regarding SCOM or SCOM managed instance, or regarding the differences between both tools? just feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, my name is Jakub. Good that I can ask something.
Jakob.
I got a question because I'm wondering, what do you think, all of you actually, will on-prem SCOM ever be replaced by a cloud solution?
My view is right tool for the right job. If your workloads are on-prem, then why would you bother using a cloud tool to manage a workload that's entirely on-prem? However, if your workloads are hybrid, so you have some things that are not on-prem, then it would make sense to use the right tool for that. And ultimately, my view is that, because it is about using the right tool for the right job, we're not just talking about, SCOM versus Azure Monitor. We really are talking about all of the tools that exist out there and just pulling them together. So a slightly nuanced answer from me.
Yeah, so for me, it's looking forward toward the near future, right? So there is going to be a new Windows server, 2025, released at the end of the year, let's say, and a System Center 2025 with the 6 main products there, also going into a 2025 version. So the reasons are because there are still many people, there are a few 100 million servers still on-prem. And yes, there are more in the cloud by now, but still so many on-prem. And as long as there are companies, big companies, and a lot of them staying on-prem or hybrid, then you need to be able to manage and monitor and deploy, etc., update these machines. So that is what these tools are used for. And yes, we will see more hybrid solutions like Azure Arc and also like SCOM MI, which can monitor both sides of the story. But sometimes there will be situations where you have to stay on-prem and when there's no cloud or less cloud dependency. And then you will see newer versions of the same tools coming out as well. And there's 10-year support on it.
Right. Raul, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it depends from organization to organization. For example, banking, finance, they have so much of securities like authorities, GDPR. They cannot move PII data into cloud. And if they do, they have to have so many checks by the security, by the authorities. So it is not easy to move solutions from on-prem to cloud. So that is what is one of the things I want to add.
I fully agree with Raul. Actually, I'm helping a lot of government customers, for which actually going to the cloud is not a topic. So this being said, they will continue relying on SCOM on-premise, and if even not going to SCOM to adopt SCOM managed instance, and another monitoring solution for hybrid environments, not a topic at all. So I think Bruce said it, it would depend on the organization, on the goals, on the infrastructure, whether you have, let's say, teams who are able to manage your SQL databases or your backend on-premise, or you would like to offload this to Microsoft. Right. Any other questions, guys? Jakub, I hope the guys answered your questions to your, let's say, yeah, that you're okay with the answers. And I see Peter is there. Peter, do you have also questions for us?
Yeah, thank you. All good from my side.
I've got a quick question, if you don't mind, and it's about the big $ question. So on the Microsoft website, there's a SCOM MI endpoint costing mapper. Obviously, so it's, I don't know if it's in my Australian dollars or not, but it's $6 a month per endpoint. So, I've got thousands of endpoints. So, it's looking at 10 grand or so a month because of that sort of cost. Have any of you guys done any sort of, like for like costings to see to see if it's the economic viability of managed instance versus on-prem?
That's a nice one from Michael. Who wants to start on this?
I can start. So Microsoft has come with an article about that, explaining, all of the costs between the two different situations. Keep in mind, obviously, that it has to do also with licensing. You might be licensed right now for System Center. So if you just say, well, I'm only moving SCOM and I'm using DPM for everything else, maybe not the best example, but let's say that is the case, then it means that you have to have both the original System Center license and the $6, by the way, per monitored item in SCOM MI. But obviously, once that dependency is gone, then of course it would be advantageous to run SCOM in the cloud. But it takes into account everything, like hosting costs, power costs, people having to walk in and out of a building, security, cooling, the whole thing. And of course, because we spend less time on the SCOM infrastructure, that saves us a little bit of time for the SCOM admins to work on the infrastructure part, so we can focus ourselves on the management packs and dashboard sides. So I think that might be the case. Do I completely agree with the full calculation by Microsoft? I don't know. There will be cases where you will not agree with them. They are projecting, what was it, 20, 30%, 40 maybe, advantage when going to the cloud. But that's obviously,
There is also one more aspect to this. So for SCOM and of course for the whole System Center, you need also SQL databases, which also have to be licensed. You need a team which should be able to maintain this. And of course, you have associated costs. So the question at the end is, if you calculate the price per endpoint, but take into the consideration all the SQL-related stuff, all the licensing stuff, maintenance and operations, it could be, depending on the size of the organizations, that you have, let's say, advantage going to SCOM MI, but it could also be the other way around. It very much depends on the circumstances.
It's very nuanced.
Yes, it's very nuanced. The absolute right way to describe it.
I also want to add, like, it also depends how secure or what is the security in your cloud for your solution or for the organization. Because on-prem you can have load balancers, you can have firewall, whatever you want, you can have it. But in case you have a SCOM MI in cloud, then in case something gets hacked, because generally you run it with local host as an agent, if some of them got compromised, then your identity and others can also be compromised by the hackers. So Microsoft come up with the tiering of applications and other solution, which is many of the government and financial institutions are doing it out. So it all depends how your security is able to do that, because going on cloud is not cost efficient. That is my experience by working with Azure and those things in there. It is like you have to be less admin, and you don't want hassle in your teams in there. That is what cloud is about.
The reality is it's a different model. It's a capex versus opex. If you've bought your servers and that's the sunk cost, then it's cheaper to stay on prem because you've already got your servers. If you have to refresh a whole bunch of servers, it's a different calculation at all. It's really nuanced. I would suggest, if you're seriously considering it, look at pricing it up yourself based on the factors that are relevant to you. There's enough data out there, or there are enough partners out there, likes of Bob, who can tell you a bit more about sort of the consumption aspects of SCOM MI. But it is going to be so nuanced; it's worth doing the legwork yourself to figure it out, I would say.
What I would like to point out, there is a very, very nice article from Microsoft which covers or compares SCOM versus SCOM MI versus Azure Monitor, if I'm not mistaken, regarding the, let's say, hybrid monitoring in general. I will paste the link in the chat right away. and you can take a look at it because it's like a table where you can see the different requirements each tool is able to cover and how each requirement is covered by each of the tools. So more or less based on, sorry, that's not the link which I wanted to post for you. Just give me a second and I'll find it. But I personally found it super informational because you have like a nice table with overview to each of the tools, to each requirement you might have in the area of monitoring.
Yes, and keep in mind that your situation might be slightly different, or you might not agree by saying, okay, I'm not going from 4 FTE SCOM admins to 1 or 2. In your case, it might be different. You might go from 4 to 3 or from 4 to 3.5. So in that case, the whole calculation changes, right? So it's all based on what your situation is unique, as is every SCOM situation is unique, to be honest.
The other thing that's worth thinking about is like your longer term plans. If you're looking to simply lift and shift your on-prem infrastructure running on VMs into cloud along with SCOM, then it's one set of calculations for like versus longer term, maybe looking at replacing some more traditional infrastructure with something that's cloud native, you know, and that will make a difference to SCOM and SCOM MI's cost, but also to the which tool makes the most sense to use piece.
Yeah, I agree fully, Bruce. I think there are a few companies where they want to do a lift and shift of many VMs. And, well, SCOM, as you know, are not the lightest machines, not in SQL, not in management servers. So they're heavy machines. So if you just blindly lift and shift those machines, then, yeah, they are going to be even more expensive to run than running SCOM MI, because that is also a SQL MI plus a number of management servers for SCOM MI. So in that case, it's again going to be different.
Yeah.
Right, guys. I found the link. I pasted it in the chat. The title is "Monitoring Strategy for Cloud Deployment Models," where actually the three tools like Azure Monitor, SCOM and SCOM Managed Instance are compared regarding different monitoring aspects, and you might get also additional consideration on all the requirements there. So take a look at the article. It's very interesting. Right, Bruce, how are we with the time? I think we have a couple of more minutes left. Guys, if you have any questions regarding SCOM Managed Instance, or how they compare, please feel free to unmute and ask our experts. I think you can ask them and approach them at any time during the whole event. So yeah, just go ahead and do this. And if not, just remember we have also another panel discussion later today, where we will be also discussing a very interesting topic around SCOM and SCOM integration with AI. So make sure also to attend this one.
It's also worth saying that the SCOM product group is their session is worth going to too, because part of the, you know, which makes the most sense and the cost as well, all of that ultimately is, you know, set by Microsoft and by the SCOM product group. So if you have feedback or any specific questions, you know, Anchor and team are the ones that really need to hear it. You know, they'll be listening to this, but they'll be, you know, because there's things I think they could do or might do, but I, you know, don't know exactly their plans, and the bits I do know I can't say, but Anchor does know. And if you have a suggestion, you know, they'll be able to factor that into their roadmap.
I think Brett has a question. He has hands up.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you guys have seen any large-scale SCOM MI deployments in the wild as yet. We've been, in my organisation, we've been working on migrating up to SCOM MI. We're probably about a week or two away from actually being able to fully stop going in the multi-homing setup at the moment. We've largely solved the issues now. But we found it quite a painful process, I'm not going to lie. I know we're working quite closely with the product group, and they're working on improvements to onboarding and such. But I'm wondering if you've seen how any other larger organisations with I say 1,000 plus endpoints have actually managed that migration at the moment. So it seems to work fine in a test environment, but once you start trying to scale it, it gets tricky.
Indeed, and I think also when you try and replicate whatever you had on-prem. So let's say if you had a lot of features, network monitoring, Linux monitoring, ACS, AEM, APM, all of these kind of things which are different or not supported or whatever in SCOM MI. If you are just focusing yourself on the Windows monitoring and SQL IIS and everything living on that, then it's going to be slightly easier to make this a reality, of course. So it all depends also on your workloads, I think, as you will have found out yourself the hard way now. But obviously, Microsoft is working on things.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few companies try it, but I haven't seen many real production deployments yet. But then, to be fair, it's relatively early days, and it's the sort of thing you'd be looking to time with. Well, we're on some old, about to be unsupported version of SCOM. We either could go to the latest version or SCOM MI. This would be the time to do it. So I'm expecting we'll see more deployments come live. What with SCOM 2025 come live, and that change, Bob, your tree of upgrades essentially. And that will change people's considerations of MI.
Yeah, we have a few customers waiting to go for it. However, they are also waiting for a few of the changes that Microsoft is currently doing to that system, to SCOM MI, to make it easier or better workable, or some of the features that they want to be included. So for some, they will wait, and others they will just move forward and start the story. As you know, it's from Brett also. This is not a 1 week story. So it will take a bit of time.
May I also have a question?
Sultan.
Can you hear me? Hi. You also mentioned there's no web console and there's no reporting service. So you have to replace those with third-party services, if I understand correctly, right?
It depends on if you are using the SCOM console itself, then you can keep using the SCOM console itself. Reporting is completely gone. Web console, they will have replacements. So first of all, it was going to be replaced by Power BI. Second, it was going to be the log analytics, so basically workbooks, right? So there's more and more data going into Azure Monitor, so I would expect to see more of that. It's just a small hint to you. So that is what you can use it for. And of course, Grafana, which can talk to both the current SCOM setup, but also towards KQL. And of course, I know that Bruce has been keeping silent for the first few seconds here. Squared up is obviously also able to talk to both SCOM and Azure Monitor. So through both directions, you can grab your data in there. Highly recommended.
This being said, we don't have reporting, but Bruce, are there reporting capabilities which Squared Up might offer?
So we're what's the difference between reporting and dashboarding? Is the first way I could answer this question. I know there is more depth potentially to reporting, and right now, our focus is on the dashboarding side of things. But as we build our new cloud offering, we'll be looking to deepen the support and deepen what we could do with the product. So watch this space. And on that note, we are over time, so I'm going to have to, I'm afraid, wrap this up. If there are questions for Bob on his session, he'll be taking them next door. If there are any questions on this topic, next time we get networking time, when it's expo time, please do collar any of us and speak about it. But for now, I'm going to say thank you very much to everyone who was on today's panel. Thank you, Stoyan, for leading it, so I didn't.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.